Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. I should have known the moment I saw his friends. We'd only been dating for 8 months, but I knew the kind of company he kept: loud, smug, performative guys who wore too much cologne and always talked over waiters. But it was his birthday, and he wanted to celebrate properly, which apparently meant dragging me to some overpriced downtown restaurant where his friends could pretend they were celebrities. I wore my favorite black dress, the one that always made me feel beautiful, even on bad days. I curled my hair, spent extra time on my eyeliner, and even wore heels, which I hated. I showed up on time. He was already seated, laughing at something one of his friends said. He didn't get up when I arrived. "Look who finally made it," he said, not even bothering to smile. I slid into the seat next to him and kissed his cheek. He pulled back slightly. There were 6 of them. 3 couples. Or so I thought. One of the girls wasn't a girlfriend. She was someone's friend from work. She looked at me and smirked before turning away. The energy at the table shifted the moment I sat down. I wasn't one of them. I was something else. The waiter brought wine. They didn't ask what I wanted. He ordered for me a drink I didn't even like. The conversation bounced around the table. Vacations, money, gym routines, brand names I couldn't pronounce. I tried to laugh when they laughed, even when I didn't get the joke. I tried to blend in. Tried to be enough. Then it happened. I was telling a story. Something about my younger brother getting lost in the grocery store. A light moment. Something funny. Midway through my sentence, he cut me off. "God, your stories take forever." His friend chuckled. Someone coughed into their drink. I blinked, startled. Tried to laugh it off. "Sorry, I guess I ramble when I'm nervous." Then he turned to his friend, smirking. "Honestly, she talks more when she's nervous. And wears more makeup too." The table laughed. Not polite laughter. Real laughter. Loud. My heart thudded in my chest. I looked at him, waiting for him to say he was kidding. That he didn't mean it like that. That he was drunk or showing off. But he wasn't done. "I mean, let's be real, she's not ugly, right? Just a little rough in daylight." More laughter. Someone spit out their drink. Someone else said, "Damn," like it was hilarious. I couldn't breathe. He looked at me once briefly and shrugged like it was nothing. "I'm just being honest. You can take it, babe." "Right." I didn't answer. 'Cause I didn't know how. Then he leaned back in his chair and added, loud enough for the whole table to hear, "Anyway, it's not like we're a thing anymore." Just like that. Dropped like a napkin on the floor. Careless. Public. Humiliating. No warning.
No conversasten.
Just a dismissal in front of people who saw it as entertainment. Someone muttered, "That's cold." But no one stopped him. No one stood up for me. I stared at the wineglass in front of me, my hands shaking, my ears ringing. And then I heard it again. That laugh. His laugh. The same laugh that used to calm me down when I was anxious. The laugh I used to love. The laugh that now felt like it was slicing straight through my spine. He didn't even say goodbye. Just stood up, tossed a few crumpled bills on the table, and laughed as one of his friends slapped him on the back. The others followed, still chuckling, still glancing in my direction like I was part of the punchline. That girl, the one he introduced as just a friend from work, slipped her phone into her clutch and looked me dead in the eyes. She didn't look sorry. They walked out together, the door swinging closed behind them, the sound of their laughter trailing off into the night like cigarette smoke. I was still sitting there. The waiter hovered nearby, pretending not to notice the scene. The couple at the next table whispered behind a menu. Somewhere across the room, a fork hit the floor and someone gasped. The world kept spinning while mine had just cracked. I looked down at my hands in my lap. They were shaking. Not from anger. Not yet. From shame. Embarrassment. A heat that crawled up my neck and into my face like I'd just been stripped of something vital. My dignity. My presence. My right to even be there. I didn't cry. Not yet. That would come later. I reached for my purse, trying to move like I wasn't falling apart. Like this wasn't the worst thing that had ever happened to me in public. Like I wasn't just humiliated in front of 6 strangers and the man I thought I loved. When I stood, my chair made a sound that felt too loud in the quiet. I forced myself to walk. Each step heavy, my heels clicking across the tile like gunshots. I passed the bar, where the bartender raised an eyebrow. I passed the front doors where the host gave me a tight, pitying smile. Outside, the cold air hit me like a slap. It was a long walk home. I didn't call a car. I didn't message anyone. I just walked, numb, my dress clinging to my legs in the wind, my makeup smudged from the inside corners of my eyes where tears had almost formed but never fell. Every sound echoed. A car horn, a laugh from an alley, the thud of my shoes against concrete. But the loudest thing was still that laugh. His laugh, replaying on a loop. And no matter how far I walked, I couldn't get away from it. When I got home, I didn't turn on the lights. I didn't take off my shoes. I just walked into the bathroom, stood in front of the mirror and stared. Mascara streaked. Lipstick fading. Eyes hollow. But I didn't cry. I picked up a makeup wipe, wiped my face clean and looked again. Just me. Plain. Tired. Alone. I opened my phone. Scrolled past the old texts. Past the photos. Past the memories I once thought meant something. I deleted them all. But I couldn't delete the voice in my head that kept whispering the same question. Why wasn't I enough? The next morning, I woke up hoping it was a dream. For half a second, my body forgot. My eyes blinked open, still crusted with the remnants of last night's makeup. And for a fleeting moment, I thought I'd overslept for work or missed an alarm. I reached for my phone like I always did. No missed calls. No messages. Not even a "you okay?" That's when I remembered. The restaurant. The laughter. The sting of wine in the back of my throat when I swallowed my humiliation instead of spitting it back in his face. I stared at the screen, waiting for a notification that never came. He didn't care. Not even enough to check if I made it home. Not even enough to pretend. By noon I got a text, but not from him. A friend. One of those mutual friends who always tries to stay out of drama, until it's just too juicy to ignore. Hey, are you okay? I saw something weird. She attached a screenshot. His Instagram story. Smiling. Same restaurant. Same night. A different girl now seated beside him. Not me. Same tablecloth. Same drinks. Her lips puckered. His arm casually draped around her shoulder. Posted 10 minutes after I left. I don't remember breathing. Just sitting there, fingers numb, screen glowing in my lap like it wanted to burn me. He hadn't just dumped me in front of his friends. He replaced me before I even got home. Another message came in. Did you guys break up? He's telling people he ended it weeks ago. Weeks? I stared into the mirror over my dresser. Hair still curled. Makeup still faintly stained beneath my eyes. I looked like the ghost of a girl who had convinced herself that love was patient. Even when it hurt. He'd been lying for weeks. Letting me believe we were still trying while planting the seeds to humiliate me. Laughing behind my back. Setting me up for a punchline in front of people who would never know what I gave him. Every canceled call. Every late reply. Every night he didn't come over. All of it was a rope I'd been clinging to, thinking it was a lifeline. But it wasn't. It was a noose. Tightening slowly. Quietly. Until it left me breathless at a table where everyone else thought it was just a joke. I didn't cry. Not yet. I laid on the floor and stared at the ceiling, letting the silence fill the space between my ribs. It was louder than his laugh. Louder than the mockery. Because silence after betrayal isn't peaceful. It's cruel. I found the old box by accident. It was tucked in the back of my closet, behind an old suitcase and a pile of clothes I hadn't worn since college. I wasn't even looking for it. I was just trying to stay busy. Anything to keep from checking my phone again. Anything to avoid the part of my brain still hoping for a message that wouldn't come. The box was covered in dust. I sneezed when I opened it. Inside were pieces of a person I had forgotten existed. Sketchbooks still smelling faintly of charcoal and ink. A playlist on a burned CD labeled, "For When I Feel Untouchable." Polaroids of me with my hair wild, my smile unfiltered. No makeup, no posing, just joy. There was a photo of me from 2 summers ago, standing barefoot in the grass, splattered with paint, holding up a canvas and grinning like I just won the lottery. I had myself. Before him there was me. A girl who danced barefoot in the kitchen, who played her music too loud, who wore bold red lipstick to the grocery store just because it made her feel dangerous. A girl who texted friends at 2 a.m. to say, "I miss you," instead of pretending she was too cool to care. And slowly I started to remember who she was. Before I made myself smaller to fit his comfort. Before I learned to read his moods like weather reports. Before I apologized for things I didn't do just to keep the peace. Before I laughed less, dressed down more, and stopped ordering dessert because he said I didn't need the extra sugar. Before I let his opinions of me overwrite my own voice. I opened my journal, the one I hadn't touched in over a year. The last entry was a list of things to do for his birthday. I flipped to a blank page and wrote something else. I miss me. The words felt raw, almost embarrassing. But they were true. And for the first time in days I didn't feel numb. I felt sad. But sad was better than invisible. I pulled out one of the old sketchbooks and flipped to the first page. My hands were stiff. I hadn't drawn in over a year. But the pencil still felt right between my fingers. I started sketching. Not a masterpiece. Not anything special. Just lines. Shapes. Something to remind myself that I still existed. That night I didn't dream of him. I dreamed of a version of myself standing in a crowded room, looking across at the girl I used to be. And she smiled. Getting better isn't linear. People love to talk about healing like it's some grand sweeping arc. A climb, a glow up, a dramatic return. But that's not what it looked like for me. It looked like false starts. Like trying to rise and falling harder the next day. Like whispering, "I'm okay," with tears still drying on my face. The first thing I tried was change. I threw out 3 trash bags of clothes. Not because they reminded me of him, but because they reminded me of who I pretended to be around him. The toned-down, soft-spoken version of me who laughed at jokes that weren't funny and let herself become low maintenance, because he said he didn't like extra. Then I dyed my hair. Just a few streaks. Something loud. Something mine. I posted a picture. Not for attention but for ownership. My face. My rules. Some friends reached out. Others didn't. One of them invited me out to a paint and sip night. I went. I smiled. I even laughed. For 2 whole hours I almost forgot the weight I'd been carrying. But that night, I came home and collapsed in the shower. Crying. Not because I missed him, but because I didn't feel like myself without the sadness anymore. I had lived in it so long that I didn't know who I was without it. Every moment of joy felt counterfeit. Like I was borrowing someone else's life. Like any minute the real me, the broken me, would come crashing through the door and take everything back. I started going on walks. Long ones. No music. Just the sound of my shoes on pavement and my thoughts trying not to suffocate me. Sometimes I ended up in places I didn't recognize. Gas stations. Playgrounds. Parking lots. I just kept walking until the ache dulled. I signed up for yoga. Quit after 3 classes. Tried meal prepping. Burned everything. Downloaded a dating app. Deleted it the same night. One afternoon, I sat on my bedroom floor, surrounded by laundry I hadn't folded in 2 weeks, and whispered out loud, "What's the point?" Not in a dramatic, hopeless way. Just in a tired way. Because burnout doesn't always look like exhaustion. Sometimes it looks like apathy. Like staring at a ceiling and wondering when your life stopped feeling like your own. Like knowing you're not okay and still choosing to keep going because what else is there? Then something happened. A letter. Thick envelope. No return address. I almost tossed it thinking it was junk. But inside was a folded acceptance slip and a typed message from an art space downtown. It said, "Congratulations, your piece Silent Color has been accepted into the summer showcase." I blinked. I hadn't submitted anything in over a year. And then I remembered that one night, late and impulsive, when I mailed off a painting I did before everything fell apart. Before him. A version of me I'd buried had been seen. And chosen. The gallery wasn't what I expected. It wasn't a grand, high-ceilinged hall full of wealthy collectors sipping champagne. It was small, warm, with white walls and soft jazz humming from a corner speaker. Local artists. Local faces. It smelled like paint and coffee, and the floor creaked when I stepped through the door. No one knew who I was. Not the broken girl from the restaurant. Not the ghost of someone humiliated in public. Not the version of me that had been rewritten by someone else's cruelty. Just an artist. I walked slowly past the pieces, some wild and colorful, others quiet and aching. I found mine near the back wall. Silent Color, I had named it. An abstract blend of red, navy, and steel gray, layered and messy. I'd made it during a stormy night with no music, no plan, just emotion. Someone was standing in front of it when I arrived. A woman, maybe mid-30s. She didn't look at me. Just stared at the piece, arms crossed, brow furrowed. When I finally spoke, she turned. "This one's mine," I said softly. Her eyes widened. She smiled, slow and genuine. "It's sharp, but soft too. I don't know how to explain it." I stood here for like 15 minutes. That hit deeper than she knew. I thanked her. She walked away. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I didn't feel invisible. I wandered to the refreshment table, poured a plastic cup of lemon water, and that's when I heard someone say my name. A familiar voice. One I hadn't heard in almost 2 years. I turned and saw her, Naomi. My old roommate. The one I lost contact with because he didn't like her energy. The one who used to pull me out to spontaneous movie nights and drag me to open mic events. The one who had been there when I painted silent color, and who I slowly stopped responding to until we just stopped. She looked stunned, and then she smiled wide. "Are you back?" "I think so," I said. We hugged. It felt like breathing after holding my breath for a year. She didn't ask about him. She didn't need to. We sat on a bench outside the gallery when it closed. Talked for hours. About nothing. About everything. She told me about her job, her dog, the trip she took to Spain. I told her I'd stopped painting, then started again. She said, "You've always had that fire. He didn't put it out. He just tried to hide it." That sentence stayed with me. I went home that night and didn't cry. I took off my makeup, changed into pajamas, and stood by my bedroom mirror. Same face. Same eyes. But not the same woman. This one was louder on the inside. And she wasn't going anywhere. He thought the moment would last longer. The high of it. The way people laughed when he humiliated me at that table. The way his friends patted his back, called him savage, said things like, "Damn bro, you really went off." He thought that made him powerful, desired, free. But the buzz wore off quicker than he expected. The girl he left with that night, the one he posted all over his story, blocked him within a week. Said he talked too much about his ex, said he had a weird temper. Said he made her feel like a placeholder. She walked out halfway through brunch, left him sitting there with 2 drinks and a phone full of unsent apologies. The group chat? Quieter now. No more backpats. No more inside jokes. One by one, the guys started texting less. Turns out no one wants to be associated with the guy who brags about being cruel. Not for long. He posted a gym selfie the next week. One of those try-hard thirst traps with a flex in the mirror.
No caption.
Just hoping anyone would respond. No one did. He checked my profile. Private. He checked his tagged photos. One had been removed, the last one we were in together. Curious, he looked up the gallery's page. He'd heard something. A friend had mentioned my name. There it was. A photo of me. Not posed. Just me standing in front of a painting, head slightly turned. Laughing at something outside the frame. The caption read, "Silent Color, a raw, honest piece by a first-time exhibiting artist who found her voice again." And just like that, the weight shifted. He zoomed in. I looked different. Not because of makeup or filters or clothes, but because I wasn't looking at him anymore. That night, he scrolled through our old messages. Read the things I used to say, the way I used to love him. The gentleness. The loyalty. The patience. He kept scrolling. Then he typed a message. Simple. Safe. "Hey. Just wanted to say you're doing great. Proud of you." He stared at it. Typed. Deleted. Retyped. Eventually he sent it. But I never replied. Because by the time he realized who I was already someone else. It started with a message. Simple. Harmless looking. The kind of thing you could read and almost convince yourself it meant nothing. "Hey. I've been thinking about you. Would love to catch up sometime."
No apology. No ownership.
Just a vague hand reaching backward, hoping I was still somewhere behind him. I didn't answer. Not right away. I sat with it for days. Let it sit in my inbox like a letter I didn't want to open. Every time I thought about deleting it, something stopped me. Not curiosity. Not hope. Just closure, maybe. He sent another one. "You look really happy in that gallery post. I always knew you had that in you." It made me feel nothing. And that strangely gave me the courage to say yes. Not yes to him. Not yes to anything romantic or dramatic. Just yes to finally seeing face to face the boy who broke me, and realizing he couldn't anymore. We met at the same restaurant. I didn't plan it that way. He suggested it like he was trying to rewrite the scene in his head, turn the humiliation into something soft, something forgettable. But this time I was the one walking in with steady steps. Not dressed to impress, not trying to look effortless. Just me. Comfortable. Confident. He was already there. He stood up when he saw me. That surprised me. His eyes searched my face like he was looking for something familiar. But I knew what he saw. He saw someone who wasn't begging for an explanation. Wow, he said. You look. I didn't let him finish. I know. We sat. He fidgeted. I didn't. He talked first, filling the silence with nervous energy. It's crazy how long it's been, he said. I've been meaning to reach out for a while. Life got weird, you know? I messed up. I nodded just once. He kept going. I was going through stuff. That night, I wasn't myself. I was drunk. I was trying to look cool. I thought I was being funny. You were being cruel, I said calmly. He blinked. I didn't mean it, he muttered. But you said it. He looked down at the table. I guess I was scared. You cared too much. You made me feel seen. And I didn't know how to handle that. I tilted my head. So instead, you made me feel small. He didn't respond. And in that silence, I realized something important. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't waiting for an apology. I wasn't hoping he'd change. I wasn't trying to make him see me. I already saw myself. He tried to joke. Something weak about old times. I didn't laugh. He said, maybe we could catch up again sometime. I stood up slowly, looked at him across the table, the same table where I once sat, humiliated, and said quietly, you called me ugly. But I was never the ugly one in the room. Then I walked out. He didn't follow. This time when I walked out of that restaurant, I didn't look back. No shaky steps. No tears threatening to fall. No heavy pit in my stomach like something inside me had just collapsed. I felt tall. Even in flats. I felt seen. Even by strangers. I felt done. The hostess held the door open for me, her eyes flicking briefly behind me, as if she could guess who I had just left behind. Cute dress, she said with a small smile. Thanks, I replied, meaning it. Outside, the night air was cooler than I remembered. Crisp. Clean. The lights from passing cars reflected off the sidewalk like glitter. Somewhere down the street, a group of people laughed loud and unbothered. It didn't make me flinch this time. I kept walking. I passed the exact spot I'd stood the first time I left this place. That night, I'd wrapped my arms around myself like I was afraid I might break open. This time my hands were free. Open. Relaxed. I wasn't carrying his shame anymore. Half a block later, I stopped for a second. Not because I was tired, but because I noticed something small. A man walking toward me slowed his pace as we crossed paths. Not in a creepy way. Just long enough to say, wow, you look amazing tonight. I smiled. Polite. Simple. But here's the thing. It didn't thrill me. It didn't repair me. It didn't feel like oxygen or approval. Because for the first time in a long time, I didn't need the compliment to believe it. I believed it already. I walked the rest of the way with my head held high, not to prove anything, not to show him what he lost, but because I had finally found what he could never give me. Me. The real me. The loud laughing, big dreaming, lipstick on a Tuesday me. The me who never needed to be chosen to be valuable. This version. She doesn't wait at tables anymore. I don't think about him much anymore. Not in the way I used to. Not with that sting in my chest or the need to replay everything. Wondering what I could have done differently. These days, when he crosses my mind, it's like hearing a song I used to love that no longer fits the moment I'm in. I moved into a new place. Nothing fancy, just mine. The kind of place where sunlight pours in at the right angle, and the walls don't echo back someone else's opinions. I hung up my old artwork. Bought new mugs. Burned every candle I used to save for special occasions. Because I am the special occasion now. I started painting more. Not to prove anything, not for shows or galleries. Just for me. Some days the colors are loud and angry. Some days they're soft and quiet. But they're always honest. I reconnected with people who thought I disappeared. I told them the truth, I did. But not anymore. I laughed too loud at brunch last Sunday. I danced alone in my living room at midnight. I wore red lipstick on a walk just because I missed the girl who used to. And I caught myself smiling in the mirror. Not because someone else said I was beautiful, but because I knew I was whole. Somewhere out there, he's probably still watching. Still checking my profile through a burner account. Still pausing at my name when it comes up in conversation. Still wondering how I bounced back, how I moved on without saying goodbye. But he doesn't get to know this version of me. He doesn't get to see the woman who made peace with her reflection. Who no longer asks if she's enough. Who doesn't flinch at her past, because she made something beautiful from the wreckage. The truth is, he never really knew me. He knew the version I gave him. The version that made herself small to fit into his comfort. The version that forgave too fast and held back too much. But this version, she's everything he never deserved. And everything I always was.